Warning, wanted to share this one with you guys today. My wife and I have been together for 9 years and married only 2 years ago. I am at the point where I do not know up from down or left from right. We are in our early 30s and have no kids. I feel this is relevant, so I will mention it. There have been 2 miscarriages in the 2 years that we have mourned. She did take the miscarriages badly. I supported her 100% through them the best I could and did everything she needed and asked for. We cried together and laughed. They were difficult times. The most recent was in July. Per her doctor, we were supposed to take 3 cycles off from trying to conceive in an effort to allow her body to rest and regulate. July was our 1-year anniversary, and she wrote me a note that stated she is the happiest she has ever been, and if the first year of marriage is the hardest, we will be rocking in our chairs at 80. This was after the second miscarriage. We were supposed to start trying again in Oct, but she grew increasingly distant. Bonding stopped and she changed like a light switch in the end of Sept. I sensed distance growing in our relationship and resentment pouring out of her. She started going to work at 5 a.m. and not coming home until late. It felt like she was avoiding me. I brought this up and said we needed to work on our relationship and do things together. This turned into her saying it feels like we are roommates talk. Her saying that kind of crushed me a little. And after she said that, it took one Google search to see what that usually means. I freaked out, to myself, not on her. We decided to do date nights to rekindle the relationship. The date nights were good for a few weeks, however it seemed like she was going through the motion and wasn't all there. I dove into cell bills and emails but came up with nothing. End of Sept, she decides to drive out to the outlets to buy new clothes. I stayed home and planned to cook a nice dinner for the 2 of us. When she left, it was an awkward goodbye, but when she came home, the first thing she said was, "I don't know if I love you." This sent a whirlwind of emotion through me. Didn't even finish cook the dinner. Frankly, I cried and felt as if my heart broke. Right or wrong reaction, it's what I did. Kind of regret it now, but it's too late. The next day I brought up marriage counseling, which she absolutely refuses to do. She will not speak to a counselor. I felt so betrayed and abandoned. Later in the day she asked me if I wanted to go buy new sweaters at the store as if nothing was wrong. I was so confused I went. Who says something like that then wants to go shopping? The following week was extremely awkward and all "I love you" and other normal things stopped, and I gave her some space. She was being a very different woman than the one I've known for 9 years. The following weekend she goes on a trip with her mom to see her older sister and tells me she regrets saying what she said more than I'll ever know. This kind of eased my anxiety a little, but not completely. She said this over text, not even on the phone, let alone in person. But to her, text seems to be conversation. I also brought up marriage counseling again when she got back, which she refused to do. I made the appointment anyway. The following week we get in an argument. She was working late and I had our only car. I was on my way to pick her up when she texted me that Sean would give her a ride home. Who is Sean? She told me about Sean the week prior when they had lunch and drinks while working on a set. I did not have an issue at all with this. I called her and told her I would pick her up, which she did not appreciate. I replied to her that I was already on my way and that she doesn't need a co-worker to give her a ride when her husband is more than capable. Mind you, I've picked her up 100 seconds of times from work. Not once has something like this come up. She believes I picked her up because I do not trust her, and that's why I came and got her. In our entire relationship I have never had trust issues. Ever. She did have trust issues all along, which I learned to deal with. I left my phone accessible and know she would rifle through it. I had nothing to hide. I loved her and it made her comfortable. I believe some of this is related to her childhood and the abandonment by her father at age 3. She has not forgiven that event and still discusses it with me, but I'm no psychologist. During this argument she proceeds to tell me that she thinks the marriage was a mistake and that she married me out of comfort and the fact that she has always wanted to be married. She also said she has not felt loved in 9 years. When I asked her what makes her feel loved, she replied with simply, "I don't know." Anytime I ask why something is bothering her, I get "I don't know." She moved out of the bedroom that night and it was like that for 3 weeks. The comfort comment cut me pretty deep, as I do pay the bills like a fool and have done so for a lot of our relationship. The one car we have is mine, which she has primarily used for 2 years. I promptly asked for half the mortgage payment and other household costs, which she agreed to, and also recommended to her that she go buy a car, which she did. After she moves out of the bedroom, things got very confusing. There was zero communication and I was trying to do a 180. If I didn't sit on the couch with her but instead sat on the love sofa, she would say, "What? You don't want to sit on the couch with me anymore." She made many passive-aggressive comments like this, which I let pass. Then she decided to tell me she was not coming with me on our trip to Florida for Thanksgiving to see my family. I wasn't surprised. Our original plan was to drive so the dogs could come, but I instead booked a ticket. She changed her mind 3 times about going. "I'll go. I won't. I'll go. I won't." The final "I won't go" came after she slept on it. Prior to my flight to Florida, we went out to dinner and she asked about my flights, as I had not said a word about anything unless she started conversations. I told her my flight out was Friday and I wasn't sure when I would be home. She asked to take me to the airport, and when I refused, She accused me of creating distance. I almost blew a fuse. She moved out of the room. She said these horrible things, not me. I ended up going to FL and asked that she give our relationship some thought, and when I got back, we needed to have a heart-to-heart. She agreed, and upon my return she said she doesn't want to do this anymore. I asked if she meant the marriage. She said yes, that when she woke up in the morning, she wanted to tell me she wanted a divorce. I asked her why she feels that way. She said again that she married me out of comfort, and that if we haven't figured it out in 9 years, we're not going to figure it out. She has never communicated this whole issue with the last 9 years until now. She ended up packing her stuff and moving to her mom's because I said I couldn't live like this in the same house. She also made a comment to me about wanting to have a kid and not wanting to work on the marriage. It felt like she was more willing to find someone new to just have a kid with than resolve anything with me. Prior to her walking out the door, she asked me if I wanted to go let her buy me jeans because I've lost 30 pounds through this. I'm at college, weight again 165. Only good thing, she has been gone since Friday, and the only communication has been technicalities about the dogs. I did speak with her mother as I am close to her family. Her mother told me that she said we did not know what we were doing yet. It just seems to me that she is so confused about what she wants, and I have no idea what to do. I've been an emotional wreck for 2 months now. I believe in my vows, and through sickness and health I love this woman. The counselor asked me if she is depressed, and I'm not sure. She is so all over the place. I want to keep my marriage for life, but I don't know what to do. I've tried to get her to talk to a psychologist, counselor, and she refuses. She has only one friend and doesn't appear to be talking to anyone that I know of. It truly seems like she doesn't know what she wants, and I need direction and moving forward. All the odd comments she has made makes me think it's not over, but she won't commit to working on anything. I have dinner planned with her tonight, but I'm not sure I should go. Am I in denial? Confusion. I looked into the other guy, and he is a 41-year-old divorced man. So I could see him as the perfect shoulder for her to lean on. 180 I am going to try to do. We're supposed to talk tonight at dinner, which I asked for, and I'm not even sure why I asked her to go. I don't want to rehash the same conversations, yet at the same time I hate this limbo. It's crushing me inside. Half me wants to go and half doesn't. Weeks later, well, today I checked the cell records and a new number has popped up. Phone calls at 4 a.m. and she even called it immediately after we had a heart-to-heart last week. I did a reverse lookup, and it's a male coworker whom I have suspected all along. He's 10 years older than her and divorced. I am pissed off, but kind of suspected this. I feel like tearing down every wedding pic, pack her stuff and change the locks. I want to confront her about this, but I don't know if it's good enough evidence. I have been going to MC by myself as she refuses to go, and I'm planning to bring this up at MC on Saturday. I've been trying NC but want to break it to confront her. Do I want her back at this point? Honestly, no. Wow, first time I've said that. Do feel completely used at this point. She has moved to her parents and took spare key to the car, so I can't var the car. I want to change the ducking locks on the door though, but don't know if I legally can. I really want to expose this because her family thinks she is this angle. She's so wishy-washy that I don't really know if she wants out, but I do feel like plan B at this point, and it's got me pissed off. If I'm going to file, I might as well reach out to talk in comfort about the phone calls. I deserve the respect of truth, but I know dealing with this kind of person doesn't yield truth. I saw her last night. She wanted to see the pets and asked if she could come over and order a pizza. I said okay because I wanted to see what she would say. I took the time to bring up the phone calls and texts. I wanted to see for myself her reaction. I asked point blank, is there anything inappropriate going on with OM? She said, as expected, he is just a friend. I said I don't call my friends at 4 a.m. other odd times. She got extremely defensive. I asked her point blank if she is talking to him about our marriage and me. She admitted that that is exactly what she is doing. I went off on her. I've bit my lip countless times in the last 3 months out of fear of saying the wrong thing or making her mad and losing any hope I thought was there. She does these things that create confusion for me, like dropping the divorce then asking me if I hate her, or what's wrong. She even left a note when I wasn't home and said, "You hate me now." She randomly sends a text saying hi. All these things frustrate the hell out of me because it's confusing. Weeks later, I filed and felt ashamed about it, but also feel it's my only option. 2 days later, she reached out to me to discuss the divorce. She received papers late last week. A sit-down was originally to discuss splitting everything up, but it turned emotional and we started talking about the relationship. Not even sure how it happened. I probably started it. The moment we started talking, she was crying. They seemed like sincere tears. I tried to keep my composure. We started discussing divorce details and she told me that I filed after only a couple weeks of her moving out. More like a month. And she seemed upset about that. The day I found out she got served, I was ill, actually sick to my stomach. I was so upset that this happened. I told her that I wasn't left with a choice and that this has been going on since Sept, and I tried to get her to go to MC and she refused. She said my actions since she's moved out did not show her that I wanted to work on anything. She said, "You have a funny way of showing it." And that I haven't texted, and seemed angry the last time we saw each other. I was angry the last time I saw her. I reminded her that she dropped D. I reminded her of the things she has said to me. Why would I text? I didn't leave. What about the last 3 months and her absolute refusal to MC? She told me she didn't believe I wanted to work on anything. This makes no sense to me. Am I going insane? Was she not present during the 3 months? How do you make it any clearer than I scheduled a MC appointment? Will you come? She told me that the moment she took off her ring was the moment when her mom showed her the email I sent her about the other man. She said that it made her very angry. When I asked what it was all about with other man, why phone calls at 4 a.m. and texts late at night, she said it's her life and it's none of my business. She said when I get something stuck in my head that's the way it is. This isn't true. What else do I have to believe? Why do I even care? I did bring up MC again, as I have an app tomorrow morning, and her response was I don't know how to answer that. Don't know why I even tried. I have a lingering hope, I guess. Why do I go back for more? Why can't I just accept? 1 second I'm confident about my decision and the next I'm second guessing. It's a crazy state of mind to be in. When I see her cry, it breaks me a little inside. I don't really know what I've done would cause her to cry other than give her the D that she's asked for several times. Am I being insensitive? 2 months later. First, emotionally I am in a different place than I was back at the end of deck. I still have really bad moments where I just cry. See red, depression. I still struggle and it seems it will never end, though I have some resolve at this point which feels good. But if I'm being honest, I still had hope, which is just insane. Since the end of December I painfully tried to move this forward, getting an appraisal to find out how underwater the house is, etc. Well, don't you know she followed this freaking script to a T. Early January, my birthday, was the appraisal. She came over and after the appraisal she asked if she could take me out to dinner for my birthday. I politely responded with I have plans, which I did. Since the end of December I painfully tried to move this forward, getting an appraisal to find out how underwater the house is, etc. Well, don't you know she followed this freaking script. Early January, my birthday, was the appraisal. She came over and after the appraisal she asked if she could take me out to dinner for my birthday. I politely responded with I have plans, which I did. She ends up texting me asking if we could talk, which I agreed to. Stupid. About an hour later she shows up, tears in her eyes, sits on the couch and says, I'm not ready to give up on this. I was taken a little back because she has been so cold for months. I told her that if she wanted to go to MC then make an appointment, let me know where and when. If anything, I'd go for closure. I then bring up her friend and she tells me she told him they can no longer be friends. She maintains they were only friends. I let it go, figuring it wasn't worth the argument, but the way her demeanor changed from crying to anger, agitation when OM was brought up was very telling. She agreed to go to IC then make an MC appointment. If this has happened, I don't know. We did hang out a couple times over the last weeks. The way she wanted to just ignore the last 3 months was astounding. How can someone do that? I don't understand how someone can compartmentalize like that. She wanted to rug sweep. It all came to a head last week when she asked if I would go to her sister's to see the baby and have dinner. Something we used to do all the time. I agreed, which is dumb. I've told me all along that I didn't want to doubt anything and knew he had texted her the prior day. I got into the car, took her phone and looked. No texts. When asked why, this is what I got. I try to keep my text inbox clean. Unlike yours where you have texts from anyone who's ever sent one. No crap, Sherlock, I have no reason to delete them and you can't get any more organized with an iPhone. I wanted to know what she did for New Year's. I just wanted to know. She spent New Year's with him in a hotel in another state. This is what she told me. We kissed on the cheek. I'd lost it on her. I know she's been sleeping with this guy. I know, so please to tell me how blind I am. I get that. Losing it on her actually felt good, then bad, but I got a lot off my chest. I reminded her of everything she said to me and the choices she has made. Everything that I've bitten my lip on I let out. I needed to do that. Since then, I went dark again. Since I started pushing full steam ahead with D, she has told me she loved me. Bull crap. Where was that on New Year's, Christmas and Thanksgiving? Oct, Sept and who knows how far back. Told me she didn't want to give up. Bull crap. You haven't done a single thing you said you were going to do. You show anger when discussing OM and can't even admit what you've done. Told me she never said things to me like, married you out of comfort. Bull crap. You know damn freaking well you did. How can she deny that is beyond me. She's gone. My comment, I like the fact that OP started to respect himself and his own feelings. Keep going. Story 2. So, I came home from work to find Thing W wants an immediate talk. This is when my panic slowly began. She says she's leaving me and wants a D and cites numerous reasons, including our long history and the amount of time I work. Just a note that I only did this so we could stay afloat. Also that I don't put her first. That I am controlling, and the kicker being that I am no longer what she wants. This is when the ringing started in my ear. The scariest part of this was that W was calm and composed. It was planned. She had packed. Other people knew. She swears no other man, and I kind of believe her. We were going to try for a family. I did not put up a good show in terms of manliness. We used to argue and fight, and it used to be loud and passionate. The fact this was not, and that I had felt it coming but couldn't find a way to communicate with her, is petrifying me. I am not H who is in touch with his feelings that often, so this overpowering numbness interspersed with bouts of emotion that simply knocked me to the floor in tears is so far into uncharted territory for me. I fear I'll never find a way out. I begged for us to try something. MC even, but the calmness responded with no. She is my best friend, and I know it must sound feeble, but I have no one else who comes close in terms of friendship. Family and friends are not local, and I'm not even sure if I trust either group. Recently we have been very distant, and anything I did was immediately met as though I should have known better than to speak. It's now the next day, and after 18 hours of staring into space, screaming, crying, numbness, shaking, I am welcoming the numbness as it stops me thinking of anything about anything. I have sent begging texts and received calm and calculated refusals back. Empty cupboards and drawers set me off. I can't decide if I should call and beg, but if she doesn't want me, what good would it do? I miss last year when maybe I could have done something about this. If I am not crying for an hour or so at the moment, I feel bad because I worry I'm not dealing with this or going and doing something about it. My default man setting is black or white, fixed or broken, and if broken then fix, but I can't see a way to fix it. I did find it, but thought if I just sacrifice all I can to try and get her back, then I wouldn't miss the pride if it worked. After typing that line above, it's becoming obvious to a small bit of me that I have no idea who I am on my own. After thinking back over some things, I realized there was a name for something we did 2 years ago. She had an IA which she swore was not a PIA. I did find evidence that this was a lie, but buried it in the hope we would work things out. And we did, for a time. Man, I've acted like a fool. I have been sole breadwinner for ages now, which has meant so much stress on me, bringing home enough to live on and enough to pay for W's education. Mini silver lining, I suppose. W's recent newfound independence through work may have contributed to this. Don't need him financially completely. As for knowing the OM, she never let me other than a name, and I didn't act as I wanted to bury it and stick my head in the sand. As an update, I have forced me to get dressed and nip to the shop as the pets were getting in need of supplies. Just walked back, and after rushing in case we showed up, was surreal walking around and not being able to look people in the eye. Must be a confidence thing. I'm starting to get a little worried about work tomorrow. I could attempt to work from home but have major clients in on Tuesday where I need to be focused and confident. Nipping to shops has drained me, so how will a whole day go? I suppose the first one of everything is going to be the hardest at the moment. Do people tell their bosses, line managers, when this happens to them? I've had people I manage come and tell me when they've had a breakup, etc., so I could provide support to them. I don't know though. Also partly worried that W will turn up at the house when I'm at work and I'll miss a chance to see her. Although what I'd say is a mystery to me. I am having a very difficult night tonight. When previous posts told me that there was more hurt to come, I didn't really understand, but I am beginning to. Now I don't use FB that much, but I noticed that she was gone from it. Unfriended her husband, I think. This started me off sinking fast. I tried to organize a meeting, just to try and talk when I was in a little less shock, for maybe tomorrow night or some point before, over the weekend, now, and at least she said she'd meet me. But not until next week, as she was busy this weekend and would contact me on Tuesday. 5 days in isolation and loneliness is going to be more agony. I also can't get the image of her with an OM for the weekend out of my head, and it's driving me insane. As a small plus, I am awaiting confirmation on an IC appointment mid-next week. I can't stand this sinking feeling in my gut any longer. This is Friday's update, 1 week since it happened. Work was difficult today. Game face was starting to slip a bit. Did engage in a bit more conversation though, still hard to even force a smile. Confided in one person today whom I trust at work, and they were empathetic and said they almost knew what I was about to say before I told them. This was perhaps a little telling of the situation prior to last week. Went round to a mate's after work and chatting helped. Went to a hardware store to buy ladders. At least it felt like a manly thing to buy. I've been getting a little concerned that I can't get any emotions out other than fear, shame and anger. So, for the last week I have been off coffee, alcohol, food, for the most part, and surprisingly music. Now we used to listen to music all the time, in the house, car, headphones, etc. I associate it with being happy, so I think I went cold turkey on it as I couldn't face any music. But on the way home tonight I put on a single song, Coldplay cover, and something weird happened. I could not stop crying. Like I hadn't done since she left. I felt a little relieved afterwards that I can still feel like that. This week felt like 7 years, not 7 days. Update: it's been exactly 1 month for me today, and boy was it weird earlier. Was watching TV and a romantic scene came on, and I just sat there paralyzed. I couldn't move except for crying. This went on for a while, but I'm semi-pleased I can get some of these emotions out. I can see I am a little better than I was 2 weeks ago, and more so than when it happened. but this is flipping hard going. My comment: let her get her feet wet and see if she will miss you. It is a lonely, cold world out there and she will find out soon enough. Save yourself some hurt and disappointment. Maybe life is better without her. Time to learn to spend some time alone. Story 3. First of all, I'd like to note that my current situation with my wife has really forced me to take a long, hard look at myself in the mirror. I have started personal counseling and have been able to identify that I have been battling anxiety and depression for many years and didn't really understand what it was. My wife also deals with anxiety, maybe depression too. This will be helpful for readers to know, I think, when reading the rest. I love my wife more than words can say. I'd do anything for her. I've always seen us as growing old together. My wife and I just got married last summer. We've been together for over 9 years. No kids. She works graveyard and I work days. A couple of months ago I started noticing her suddenly. At least seemed sudden to me. Being very distant. I would say giving me the cold shoulder. This of course threw me for a loop. I initially tried talking to her about it. Asked her if anything was wrong and she said she wasn't trying to be distant or anything like that. So, I kind of let it go. Nothing really changed. She stopped wanting to hold my hand. I had to initiate hugs. Kisses were very brief. We've had no intimacy since this all started. She used to cherish the little things like that. I've talked to her again a couple times and expressed to her how much I love her and how I really think we need to communicate better. I've never been good at showing my emotions and affection for her, and this has really woken me up to that. She even said as much in these talks that her self-esteem was pretty damaged cause I rarely initiated bonding or intimacy. I feel like an idiot. I've always wanted to be good about showing her affection and initiating the romance. But that is where I am finding out my anxiety. Depression has really gotten in my way. I would think about doing some affectionate thing for her and then not do it a lot of the time as I would have this irrational fear of rejection. I'm really working on this with my doctor and my counselor. I try to explain this to her and she says she understands, but she just feels neutral about everything, like she doesn't care. I had spoken with her parents, who really love me, and they assured me that she is set on me and she felt I was just being really needy lately. This is partly me trying to overcompensate and partly me really trying to get the real me out. I've found that talking about my emotions really helps with my anxiety. I used to always bottle everything up. So, I think I really started to smother her with affection and gifts, and this really started freaking her out. She has told me that having the serious talks just makes her anxiety get really bad. So anyway, we had a blow-up argument a few weeks ago before she went to work about her always texting and being on Facebook, as this is another thing she's been doing a lot. I straight up asked if she was having an affair the day before this and she said no pretty definitively. I've gotten pretty good at reading my wife and she very rarely ever lies to me, and I have been able to pick out when she does cause she's not good at it. She didn't even hesitate to tell me she wasn't having an affair when I asked her, so I have to believe her. So, we had our blow-up argument the next day and she stomped out the door to work. We then were texting each other. We both felt like crappy people. Next day she came home and we talked and she said she was going to go stay with her friend from work. It's a girlfriend. For a few days. I told her if that is what she needs then to do it. I didn't want it, but she said her head was a jumbled mess. She agreed we need to work on our relationship together. Well, it's been 3 weeks now and she's still not back home. She dropped the bomb "I love you, but I'm not sure I'm in love with you" on me about a week or so ago. She said she felt like she was about to have a nervous breakdown. She has told me that she has had to make herself more independent a lot because I wasn't giving her attention she needed. This makes a lot of sense to me, as I know I have been terrible at this. She even brought up the issue that it might be a hormonal thing. My wife said she did not want to change anything right now, like she doesn't want a divorce. I told her that we need to get into marriage counseling. Her parents told her this too. She said she would go, but she wants to stay where she is right now as she is comfortable there. She said she got to the point where she dreaded coming home to me because she knew I would question her about our relationship with serious talks and her anxiety would go through the roof. We have our first counseling session in a couple of days. We keep in touch mostly through texting. I ask her to call me every few days and she does. I've really tried to back off and give her space, though it is so very hard as I feel she is slipping through my fingers. I am really working on changing myself. My ability to get emotions out has improved a ton, but showing her just comes across as smothering. So, I talk with friends and family a lot. I spoke with her parents again last week and they told me my wife just spoke with them as well and told them pretty much the same stuff. They seem to think we can work this out. They asked her if she wants to save the marriage and she told them yes. If there is anything left to save, I really don't know how to read that. Her parents have assured me there is no affair going on as well. Her sister tells me she feels my wife and I were made for each other and she knows my wife loves me very much. Maybe it is just a difference between men and women, but I really don't get the love you but not in love with you thing. To me, as a man, you either love someone or you don't. The in love feeling always waxes and wanes. I've had times where I feel less in love, but I know I love her so I don't even question it. Anyway, from reading threads on here and other places, I know I've got to focus on working on myself. Which I am. I think I need to be giving her some space, which I am. I'm not really sure how much contact I should be having with her. I'm a real good guy. I've never mistreated her, outside of the lack of affection and showing my emotions. This is really a tough time for me, probably the toughest time I've ever gone through. I'm confused even though a lot of this makes sense to me. It seems like it should be fixable. I don't understand this happening now after we just got married less than a year ago. I can see numbers she texts on our phone bill, though. That actually caused our blow-up argument when I saw a number. She was texting a lot and it was a guy she works with. I grabbed her phone while she was asleep and she seems to delete all of her texts to everyone. There were a couple left from that hash and they didn't look bad. I only did this once when I was checking the phone bill. I'm not looking anymore because it just will cause my anxiety to go crazy and I can't see what she's texting anyway. I do fear that an emotional affair could be happening and my wife doesn't even realize it. I'm pretty positive there is nothing physical happening. My wife later told me she shouldn't have been texting that much with that person, but it did bother her that it seemed like I was spying on her. She said she worried that I go through her things in her journal, which I don't. It's just not me to do that. What I do know is that there are underlying issues with our relationship, that she wasn't getting the reassurances from me that she needed, even if there is the emotional affair. I don't think that is the primary problem. It's what led to that with our relationship that I need to be able to work on with her. I believe my wife would divorce me before she physically cheated on me. She is a very wrong person. So, I didn't disclose that because then I knew everyone was going to automatically assume there is an affair. While I fully acknowledge that is a possibility, particularly the emotional affair, I don't believe that is the root problem, but more of a symptom. I need more advice than she's having an affair. Texting someone to me, while it definitely bothers me, does not constitute an affair. I'm thinking I'm better off spending my efforts working on me and our relationship, regardless of if there is an affair. If there is an affair, she is keeping it secret from everyone and it will eventually eat her up inside and blow up in her face. I think she would know that too. She would eventually tell me. Like I said previously, she is a very wrong person, so I truly don't believe a physical affair would happen before she simply asked me for a divorce. Which could happen. Another tidbit I probably should have mentioned is that I do know she has been stressed out a lot, even before the distancing. We've had a lot happen to us over the last year. We got married, she started her job last year, our dog passed last year. It was her dog before we met and she was absolutely attached to him. Also, her grandmother, who she was very close to being gone 2 years ago. Add that to all my issues with anxiety and depression and well, you get the picture. I do believe a lot of things are at play here. Now that I'm aware of many of the issues, I've just got to find a way to get her to move forward with me. I'm not looking for our old relationship. I'm looking for a new and better one with her. She has just built up this wall around her and I can't even get her to engage right now. I'm really hoping the marriage counseling will allow us to open up and give some tools to rekindle the spark. My comment: you two are not in a healthy state right now. You can't be committed to a relationship when both of you are in a bad shape mentally. Just some short and sweet stories for you guys. Hope you learned something from these. Let me see if I can get another story in today and let me get back on that one.